From May 8th to May 28th, never showed up. From March, the whole March of March through and almost the middle of April, he didn't show up. There were abstain 41. We ranked him 25%. The other company, the other American for Prosperity, rated him 81. And I was wondering if you are missing 1/3 of the year of the cities. How the heck do you get a 81 or a 98? It's a shame that we have to, bottom line is we have to look at our representatives. We have to check the representatives, that what they're doing, what they're saying. It's imperative. We can't let them just go on and say, "Oh, I'm great, I'm doing this," and everything else. The guy spoke and he was a nice guy, but he doesn't work. And he was complaining about he's not getting enough money. He shouldn't get any money. Why? So that's why there's something. Neither of us have the representatives that we don't need. Why? Why do that? We got rid of an alcoholic, we got rid of a pedophile. We need. And it's amazing that they compare us, but there's no miserable depth to it. And the John Hare Society has been around for quite some time, and they've done the good and the bad and across the country, and it's really done a marvelous job over the years. And it's so true to the Constitution. And if we agree to our state Constitution and our federal Constitution, you guys, so it's good for mark on the mark. Tonight's guest, Mike Burkle. I saw him at a Berkeley breakfast, and I was impressed with what me. I love his caption on this flyer. There's a show me the money. Listen to this guy and go, no, when did he ever hear that from the person? How did he put all this, only in his wallet. So with everything that's going on across the country and also in Colombia, the timing couldn't be better for this young to stand up and run for. I had the opportunity to call him, and somehow, I know one knows my dad, but I came out of college, and I needed a job. So started making phone calls like everybody else and getting one thing led to another. And I ended up, and I didn't realize it was a multi-billion-dollar company. I didn't know that. I didn't know. I just wanted a salary. I need the money. I had a child and a wife. One thing leads to another, and they said, well, we're going to make you do this. And the next thing, they're going to make me do this. Then they're going to make me do this. So this massive multi-billion-dollar company trains you not just to be a marketing person, a sales person, a geek, whatever. They make you know everything. And where they start is no matter what you're handling, let's call zero-based budgeting. Now, I went to 4 years of college, and we not talk about zero-based budgeting. And once I got into it, we found a lot of dirt. So what happened is that over the years, I got to a point where I was going into the different properties that they own. And we bought properties. And the first thing I said is, let me see your books. Why do we have this? What are we doing this? How do we have free bulk donation thing? Why do we have office supplies? We give pencils and desks, pens in their desks. They hated me. I walked into one facility and we had more people than we had desks. They said, what are we going to do about it? So we'll get hold of this whole county person. Let me get me some paychecks on some of these people. I got to get rid of 36 people because that's what I'm not going to buy 36 of that. That company was that we had cash coming out of our ears. And it was a multi-billion-dollar company. And when they bought things, planes, helicopters, whatever they bought, do we need it? Do we actually need it? Does everyone know what we're spending? Everyone in the building should know what we're doing. And that's what I heard from this gentleman here, is that everything should be up and it should be seen by everyone so you know what's going on. So no matter if you're a salesperson, a marketing person, you're a loyal person, whatever you may be. He doesn't know your book. He doesn't know your expenses. He doesn't know your costs. This is what this gentleman I've heard in the conversation and in between the lines. So the only thing I do, come up here and give it.
So it's not anything. It's not anything new, really. Twice everybody. First off, though, I want to thank you for that nice prayer. It was really nice. When I was younger, somebody used to pray for me. I feel comfortable about it. For some reason, whatever reason, because I've matured in my faith. I want to tell you, I really appreciate prayers. I appreciate anybody's prayers. Running for an office like this is not easy. And I was probably a different way today. I was at a friend's funeral earlier today. But it's, this is, life is beautiful. God is great. I have been very fortunate in my life, and I do appreciate the prayers. So all the things I appreciate all around. One of the best things we're running for office, for me at least, has been I get prayed. It's really nice. So all the things to do that. So, my name again is Mike Burkle. I lived out in Sullivan's Island. I grew up in Chapin, which is up above Columbia. Went to college at the College of Charleston. It's kind of a brief background. I met my wife there, lived up in York County for a little bit, and then back down to Charleston. And then I started business here in 2008 that processes pharmacy claims and manages pharmacy inventory. I was able, through a lot of hard work, able to sell that company in 2019 and buy out cities, things like that, and it's like American Dream stuff. And I've been enjoying raising my kids, who are now my daughter just graduated Clemson. My son's going to go to USC, and my wife has been married for 30 years. She's got my town council in Sullivan's Island, which is a little bit bang crazy. But about this time last year, I was not planning on running for comptroller general. I could tell you, I can assure you that I was enjoying my business life and my private life. I have always enjoyed public service. I did run for office when I was up in York County. But I didn't win. So anyway, back to this. Sitting on porch, I think as the story goes, this is how I remember it. I was reading Stream Fitz News. They're always good with headlines. And I think it was Murdoch stuff I was going through. And I saw this one article where the state had lost $3.5 million. And I scrolled to the next story. I'm like, hang on, my mind was like, that has to have been million. Couldn't have been billion. Because I can see losing $3 million in a big budget. You somebody miscounts for it. $3 billion, it's an enormous amount of money there to figure. And so as I was going through the headlines, that was $3.5 billion that we thought we had, and there were arguments about what we were going to do with the money, and then we didn't have it, and then we did have it, and then we didn't have it, and then we have it, but it's not really past billion, it's been double counted. So you wonder how does this happen? And then there's a whole other $1.8 billion, and that there's people are saying is an amalgamation of accounting is. And so I thought, well, this is a giant mess. And so, but to put it in context, things cost more now. So how big is the state budget? So I get on the line and I start trying to figure out the state budget. I can't find it. There are PDFs you can get of consolidated things, but there's no clear state budget. I mean, like details, like you would expect you can have these days. I mean, it's a state. I mean, South Carolina, with this perspective, is not that big. I mean, it's about the size of Metro Atlanta. It's like 30% the size of LA County. I mean, it's just not big budget. So it's certainly something we should be able to put online and manage. And I became really frustrated, thinking, well, this is ridiculous. $3.5 billion is missing. I can't see what we're spending our money on. These are modern times. This should change. Yes. And so I had at the same time, I had a friend who was calling me and talking to me about running for the first district office, and I was not interested in. And this job came up, and at first I thought, look, running for controllers is just the state's accountant. Who wants to run for office to be the state's accountant? But as I read more about it, and as I got into it, I realized, look, this is a job where I'll tell you what happened is the 3.5 billion and the 1.8 were known for a long time. Those errors were known for a long time. What happened is when COVID money started coming into the state, it made everything grow. So it's like having a small error and then you get a bunch of money flushed in and they got a really big error. So what they were hiding, errors that they knew they were hiding. This needs to be important because it speaks to CJ's point about the insiders in Columbia. Since 2012, these errors existed. Okay, they were known. They were showing up in audit funds. The state's auditor knew, because we have a state auditor who works for a state agency that audits books. The state's outside auditor knew, and the controller general knew. And nobody fixed it. And nobody said anything about it. And every year, they just kept issuing financial statements with errors in them. Well, our bondholders rely on, when we go sell bonds, our bondholders rely on our books to be accurate. And so they were knowingly issuing false financial statements in my mind. I think if I was a bondholder, I could make that point. And not just fixing it. That's the challenge I don't understand, folks. I've been as talked to as a fellow citizen here. That's how I'm going to talk about this tonight. I understand why in 2012, when these things came up, like in my business, after I had sold it, I remained the CEO for around 5 years. If I had had audit findings in my company, material audit findings, and I didn't them from my board, I would have been fired. And justly so, right? Because you're hiding material things. My job as CEO was to say, okay, let's identify that and go kill it. Let's figure out what the problem is and end it. Because that's generally what work is solving problems. And so when you get presented a problem in the book as the controller, your job is to go solve that problem, not hide it. That's what went on. So that will never go on with me. We'll just, if we have problems, look, I mean, if accounting errors happen, nobody's surprised about that. Go fix it. That just seems so simple to me. Now, at the same time, we don't have any transparency to our state finances. And that's a real big problem because our state budget keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we become, like so frustrated with roads, schools, everything that we do is kind of perennially at the bottom. And we wonder why. Well, here's what I found out about the state budget. I had learned a lot about this job. And I guess I should introduce the job for you as well. The state controller general is an elected position, just like treasurer, just like the superintendent of education, just like the attorney general. In 1895, our state executive branch was broken up. And so what would typically be a governor's appointed staff or appointed offices are now all independently, have been all independently since 1895. That means you've got a really fractured executive branch and a very strong legislative branch. Okay, that's the lay of the land in South Carolina. One of the problems with this is that, well, I'll get to that in a second. So the General Assembly, when money is our state, the General Assembly passes a budget. The controller puts the budget in our IT system. This is how it looks now. If a department head wants to spend money, they request the invoice get paid to the controller. The controller looks to see if, is this something that was in the budget? Is it approved? Did it meet purchasing requirements? And if it was, he then issues a warrant to the treasurer to pay it. And I know this is a bit of a civics lesson. This is all of our money. Okay, so it's like super important. So the treasurer then pays it, and then once a year there's a reconciliation amongst the approved things to be paid, and then what the treasurer paid, which makes sense. So all that should work out. Well, the controller's seat has been treated like an accountant's role, like a bookkeeper's role. What it's not been treated like is, like the way I'll run it, when I'm up there, is you will elect me to be your accountant, and I will report to you on the bus. The reporting stayed in Columbia, stayed kind of inside. There's real nowhere to read it. But with today's technology tools, and this goes back to my business being a technical business, but I was looking at this seat. This seat's about two things. It's about being sure the financials are correct, but it's also about all the information that's in the state books. And if you want to turn around an organization and you want to fix it, you have to go to the books. Yeah, so it's like every time I say it seems so fundamental. So nobody's in charge of the books in the state. That's what I want you guys to know. It's like nobody. So right now, and I went over this with the reporter from the Post and Courier. If you want to know a question, like if you got a question about finance, there is no single person in the state you can go to get the answer. There's no person that's accountable. So the governor doesn't, the controller doesn't report to the governor, and the treasurer doesn't report to the governor. The treasurer and the controller don't report to each other, right? It's like, it's a very disparate, practice system. Revenue reports up under the governor, but they've got it on board. So we don't have a good handle on the books in this state. And here's the other piece of that is our representatives, when they go write the budget, don't have basic financials that they would go through with each department that they have access to understand what we need to fund. So our legislators are part-timers, right? Say we're calling a session, but not in session, call it not. So they've also got budget, which takes up a lot of their time, but they've also got other issues, those are primary issues, social issues, schools, all those other things that people want to take care of. So what happens is, in my view, is essentially the bureaucracy runs our state. That's why we continue to see growing budgets, no real output, no big changes. Like if you're a bureaucrat in Columbia, no, you don't feel attracted to Sonaville. It's done. And by the way, I think importantly, there's these cultural issues because like Columbia is not really broke. I mean, Lexington is, but Columbia is not. And so it's not like they even live in this world that we live in. And now certainly there are areas that we have representatives from that are more rural and may not be feeling it. But the bureaucracy runs the state, and I know the legislature likes to think they do. My view is that the bureaucracy